Thank you, and we have a very esteemed panel to discuss a very intriguing topic, like he said, in terms of how the growth of Indian media is going to happen in the intersection of commerce, culture, and content. We have some very interesting point of views that we had discussed offline, but let me just kick it off with based on what we released earlier today. So the industry is expected to grow at 8%, while the digital advertising media is growing almost at double the rate to make up the majority of the ad spends in the next few years. I would just invite all of you to kind of comment on, based on how India is shifting away from the traditional reach focused metric, what are some of the key enablers that is shifting from reach to results? What are some of the key enablers? What are some of the emerging trends that you see? So I just want some point of views from each of you. Ajay, if you can start, please.
So I don't think we are moving away. We are still a very, in most categories, as well as for media, I think we are still a penetration market, right? We are not a Western democracy saturated market kind of stuff, and that holds true for media as well. So I think there are other mediums which are doing, and reach is part of the result. I think reach is not a separate piece. I think the fact is that when you had largely one medium dominating, from there you have mediums which have much more capabilities or different nuances to be used, let's say for digital, you have other nuances that come into play. But reach being a key parameter in terms of achieving your results, it's not gone away. I think it will not go away. It will be one of the primary factors and other factors as well.
Manish?
I think it's not that simple, right? And if you look at the category nuances will come into play, right? For a category which has a larger decision-making purchase cycle, you'll have to be build that reach, awareness, penetration, go by those logics. But some of the impulse categories like ours, reach, if you have to do like 3 innovations, 4 innovations in a year and then keep building reach for each one of them, at times doesn't make sense. And increasingly in boardroom, the conversations are about that reach has happened, so what if results have not happened, right? So yes, there is definitely a significant amount of pressures on marketers to look beyond reach, and we are adapting to that new age of clear attribution and clear cycles where business could be attributed to specific channels, nuances. We have talked about RMNs today so much. A lot of those things are also helping you move from pure reach and frequency metrics to other matrices.
Thanks. I think talking about attribution, Hemant, you are sitting on data that is very well attributed in a very different context than the other panelist. What's your comment on this?
So just giving you a couple of comments from my side, and then we can come back to some of these topics in detail. But yeah, first of all, the market itself, I'm still very excited with the India market. I think the growth is there, the number of brands which come up over here. I've worked across global markets, but honestly, the kind of hustle and hunger that I've seen over here is just not available anywhere. We operate in a very complicated, advanced market against the talent over here, which is able to work across multiple things at the same point in time, is unbelievable. Our metrics are advanced, far advanced than a lot of other places, etc. So I think the market is yet to grow. The forecast of IMF when it comes to the GDP, that also says that, I don't know if you remember those early traditional days of the leadership multiple that any category would get. The simple thumb rule was 3 times the GDP. So that's what we aim for, right? At any point in time, okay, at least GDP growth rate, and then there is 3 times the GDP growth rate, and that's why I think your digital trend rates are similarly matching. Those don't change. I think from the second point of view, when you come to reach or the traditional marketing principles, I don't think marketing principles have ever changed. The language has. And that's where I start putting a word of caution that more and more when I have a conversation with the marketing side of the table, the conversation is really about outcome. And as I said, that we can dig deeper in this, but outcome to me is still a data-based result. Consumers are still human beings. Loyalties are yet still to be won. Of course, even in an impulse purchase category, because that's where your CAC comes down over a period of time. And I think those are some of the nuances that we are still dealing with. Probably it's our learning phase. Before India actually steps up and starts building strategically, which it currently does not. It's very operational, it's price sensitive, and that's fine. I think that one part which is completely missing, which can give us the substantial growth multiple on one side, and secondly also create models which can be exported globally. So that's my couple of things.
No, good. Kedar, you've been at pioneering initiatives, at the helm of pioneering initiatives of two very different kind of industries. What's your thought on this?
So look, there is a larger trend where media buying is no more just expected to deliver attention. The shift from just giving you attention to orchestrating and driving outcomes is where the larger shift is. And the shift really started when measurement was enabled at scale and real time. And this was essentially the time when brand marketing kind of took a backseat, performance marketing, growth marketing kind of started taking on in a big way. From there, and this is roughly about 5 to 6 years back when it kind of really peaked. From there to today, the expectation of having an outcome linked to whatever you're spending is now getting expanded and expected across the funnel. Whether it's just brand growth or mid-funnel or performance. Now that's really where things are, and it's just convenience because it's easy to explain why you're investing behind XYZ, and it stands the scrutiny of a CFO or a CEO. That's the hard truth. The fallout of this trend, however, is you tend to make choices which buy sales in short term, and hence most brands are not able to charge premium over the long run. And that balance is what a great marketer has to strive and bring in. So I think that's been my observation, whether it is e-com when I started building e-commerce in India, or changing the way BFSI is operating in today's world. It's just bringing the right balance between the two.
Very interesting, Kedar. So Somesh, you've heard others speak about scale, attribution and outcomes. I'm sure you're driving something similar or pioneering something similar in the banking industry. Do you want to just build on what they said?
No, so I think most of it has been said, and Kedar has explained it very nicely, but just 2 points that I want to talk about. For me, marketing has never been whether traditional or digital. It is about the consumers who you want to reach out to. Now, if your consumers have changed, earlier people used to watch TV, now they have started watching everything on their OTT platforms or on the mobiles or the small screens. Now, you will have to reach out to the customer in the way that they expect it to be, and hence the things have been changing. So I think still, depending on the objective of the campaign, depending on what do you want to achieve, you will decide whether it is going to be so-called traditional medium, I don't like that word, but so-called traditional media vehicles or the digital, new age digital vehicles. That's one. Second, obviously, as things change, when we started our careers and the years before that, there was no way that you can measure the outcome. As and when things progress, you start to get some way of measuring the outcome of any medium that you are going to choose. May it be television, earlier there was nothing, but then something came in where you start measuring television. It could be now that you expect it to be even better, because now you compare it with the digital medium where you on the go will know whether the consumer has been converted or not converted. But obviously things have been changing over a period of time. So I think always as a marketer, at least whenever I started my career, we've been looking for outcome. We've been answerable for outcome. It's just that the objective of the campaign, if it is a launch campaign, I will decide who my target audience is, what is the medium that is the best to reach out to the maximum number of people. Versus if I'm running my performance campaign where my objective is to generate high intent leads, there's no point of going out and using the mediums which will not give me high intent leads, and I will have to spend on something like Google. So I think it has been always like that. I would not put it across as things are moving. Yes, you need to be aligned with the consumer needs, and that's why marketeers are aligning to the consumer needs.
True. I think alignment with consumer needs is important for all of us. Ajay, you want to just say some few words on what you
So
are
I'll just add from my experience. So we run one of the largest awareness campaigns, right? Mutual fund sahi hai. For us, reach is very important. But over the last year or so, I've realized my board has started asking questions. Okay, mutual fund sahi is in top of mind. We've reached out to so many people, crores and crores of people. Numbers have gone up, but now can we, which the numbers have gone up because the industry used to put in efforts to convert them. But now can we, under mutual fund sahi hai, start looking at conversions? So yeah, we are moving slightly towards that.
good. So having opened it up with some thoughts of the future, and many of you talked about scale, attribution, changing consumer segments. I think the model itself is evolving. I think as against traditional advertising, traditional subscription. So I just wanted to open it up with a few of you to see what are some of the new models that are evolving in your industry, and how do you see them playing a part in your roadmaps? Hemant, you want to start with that?
I can. So what Somesh said really does strike a huge chord. That at the end of the day, it's about the consumers. True. And while he has a fair bit of thought process that, hey, look, if I'm looking at a campaign launch and thereby there is a certain mix that I use both in terms of media as well as creative, depending on where my consumers are. I think more and more when you look at the models, they are currently, as of today, are from the other side of the table definitely evolving towards 100% outcomes. They are. But the outcomes are being metricized by a standard conversion metric. The impact versus what really happens to the outcomes. And let me just explain that. That you take a pure performance campaign, or you take a branding plus performance campaign, there is a marked difference between a branding plus performance in terms of getting higher performance or a higher outcome. That's logical, right? Otherwise, it's like I'm trying to woo you as a customer, and the first thing that I ask you is, hey, let's have a deal. No, I have to still sell myself to you. Look, I'm a good guy, wearing good, all of that loyalty stuff is here, and now let me see what can I do for you in your own as I would say, personalization at scale. Okay. So I think when you look at the models, it's actually gone from a perspective of pure outcome, and in our personal experience, for example, we as we stated in Truecaller, we own the trust graph. And there is a social graph, there is a content graph, and then there is this beautiful important thing called the trust graph. And that's where it really starts, because all my life from the time that I was growing up, all the brands said, trust me, buy me, this is what you will get. So I think I've seen a lot of marketing folks starting to realize that, yes, this is an important part to start, where we can build loyalty in an ecosystem which is uncluttered, and at the same time where trust is the starting value, and then of course either engage or convert.
Trust is a big word, and it needs to be there from an evolving consumer segment. So from that perspective, in the banking area, Somesh, so specifically, is there any evolving hybrid models that you are seeing or you are building towards?
So I think I'm not sure whether what can be a hybrid model, but yes, things have changed from what we used to do, right? Like he said, initially, if I were to do performance campaigns, now there are ways and means that it's always been a combination of an organic and inorganic. Now, what is the amount of money that you want to spend on performance? Obviously, from a boardroom discussion perspective, all of us would want more and more organic leads to come in so that it comes at a zero cost and your final P&L looks better. But is it that simple? Because there are multiple levers that you need to look at. If your overall searches are increasing, if your overall traffic is increasing, and hence finally you get more and more organic traffic. Another factor to that is, like he said, what level your brand stands at. I mean, today, thankfully, for a brand like us, we don't need to go and sell HDFC. People at least trust our brand, and I don't need to really spend a lot of money into telling people that you can trust me. At least I have that trust and reliability factor the moment the name itself comes in. So there are different brands that they need to look at differently, because he rightly said, if it is a brand, somebody needs to trust it. We need to go and build that trust and then get into performance. I think there are three things that we need to look at. Obviously, depending on the requirement or the stage at which your brand is, you need to decide whether you really need to go high and invest into brand or not. Otherwise, a combination of a performance and brand is something that works better. It is there we have real outcomes coming in. We can really go and explain and act like a profit center rather than acting like a cost center in the organization. And the moment you turn your department as a profit center and go and tell them that I have spent 100 rupees and I've got a revenue of 200 rupees, which clearly means that I can scale this business tomorrow if you give me 500 rupees, then you can go and ask for more money. So I think that is one model that is clearly coming up with performance hitting in. But the right blend of performance and marketing will entirely depend on the brand that you are and what do you want to sell.
True. So I think we are all talking about consumer segments and changing consumer segments. Just for our audience here, there's a big influence from social on many of the things that we spoke about. So Ajay, if you want to just from your industry perspective, how is social impacting any of these initiatives?
So these are different tools, right? Now, social, you have, I think you are building trust. I don't subscribe to the fact that we are in a business where you build trust and I think then you need to just reap the fruits of it. That's not the game. I think till the time you have consumers, and it'll always be the case, I don't foresee, it hasn't happened in the last 3,000 years, it's not going to happen in the next 2,000. You'll always have shortage of information with consumers. You'll always have shortage of trust with consumers. Brands are always treated as shortcuts for trust and shortcuts for great decision making. In that, you had a scenario where you used to interrupt people and therefore try to have a one-way conversation with them. Today, I think we have more tools in our basket, right? Where you could have people like them would go and want to have a conversation with them. Social comes into play there. You don't want a conversation which is just a one-way conversation. You want a two-way conversation across with brands. That's the piece. You only don't want to have a crystallized, focused, one-size-fit-all communication, conversation with the consumers. You need social from a personalization point of view. Yet, is that an answer for most things? It does not provide scale, right? Social campaigns do not provide scale at all, kind of stuff. If you've got to build fame, and fame is a very important part of, I think, we undersell ourselves as marketers if we don't take the layers of things that we put across. I think if we all talk about it as brand building and performance, I think there are many facets by which marketers build and are contribute to the profit and the growth of the business. So I think there are different tools. Social enables a certain amount of conversation that you did not have earlier. It also possibly allows a few things to be done which earlier mediums didn't allow you to do. I'm just taking a small example from our case. Home builders in India, which is 70% of our business, they are about 35 years old, right?
Right.
Now, a 35-year-old fellow has no clue how to build his home, right? earlier we used to have a fixed army of a very large army, though, of I think technical experts who would go out and talk to people, right, and help them out because it's a consequential journey, right? Because you need to extend the brand's remit beyond just for providing the product. You could reach only a certain amount of people in that conversation, right? Advertising couldn't do the job. Social does the job. So I think there are different tools. I'm sure Punit does similar stuff in terms of engaging into, because it's a knowledge product where you need to be aware, you need to have 4 amount of conversations with the brand or with whosoever is advertising to, I think, move forward along your journey towards the outcome that the business wants. So
Sure.
these are different tools.
Yeah, I think true. I think in that sense, I just wanted maybe Punit, since he mentioned your name, about how are you using social to build scale for brands? I mean, in the area of influencers or influencer marketing, do you want to comment specifically from that angle in your world?
So for us, while working with influencers is, there are a lot of regulations around it, and we stay away from them. But overall, influencers as a category has helped the personal finance industry a lot, I would say, right? I mean, you see the scale post-COVID, the amount of content on personal finance that has gone up has led to a lot of adoption of newer products like mutual funds, which earlier people would find confusing. While we've gone there and spoken about it, it is, to an extent, you have to give them some credit that influencers have changed the game for us and for a lot of other financial services.
True. And while it might be challenging in this, Manish, in your area or in your industry, at least influencers play a big part. And what's your thoughts on how influencers are adding to building brand trust at scale, especially, how they're democratizing it across the nation, how they're going viral, so on and so forth?
So obviously the content creators economy is booming, and they are playing a distinguished role in terms of shaping the consumer behavior on their purchase, especially for a category like ours, which is quite impulse. So, is weekend kya khana hai? What I see is what I'll decide, right? Whatever I would have seen between Thursday to Friday would be likely choice that I'll make. So, there's a brand called Bene Dosa that opened up in Delhi. You can't imagine the kind of queues they have. While there are many choices for similar kind of dosa formats, but Bene, just because influencers have talked so much about it, is like the kind of queues they are seeing is like hours of wait, right? So it's interesting how the narrative can be built and how demand can be shaped. It is building up quite well even for us. So they contribute significant part of our traffic. And when we compare with some of the mega influencers and some of the celebs hardly have any influence left, versus some of these micro really are the engaging ones, because somebody is built authority that I know about food, I'll tell you the best places. So it's a much higher authority than Shah Rukh Khan coming and saying that you should eat this. So that is definitely relevance as well as authority is building up quite well for.
Yeah. Actually, you touched upon 3 topics. I don't know whether everybody got it. So you said Benne Dosa, which is a very regional thing, and I come from the Benne Dosa region. You talked about how influencers are moving away from celebrities and how they're making an influence, and how it is becoming more regional as well. So Kedar, you've seen like worlds from a different perspective. Any of these 3 dimensions on the 2 worlds that you worked in?
So influencers didn't exist when I was in CPG. This started off when I was in e-commerce. Right. And we've really seen how the entire influencers kind of helped sell things.
Right.
So from the days where influencers were leveraged to kind of amplify things at a cheaper cost, to now where we've moved in a banking world to a KPI-led deal with influencers. So I think that's the first big shift that we're seeing. So even with influencers and for driving scale, I think the metric has moved for us from just getting a CPV or a per reel or a per post to directly attaching attributes on issuance of a card or insurance being sold, or let's say just getting a consumer onboarded, provided you have all digital journeys. So that's one big shift, and I think we've kind of built a tool in-house which allows us to drive these attributions, and hence we're able to kind of scale and build it. So that's one part of it. The other part of, beyond influencers, I think the big shift is we've also let go of our brand ambassador, whom with we have been for like very long. The way consumers kind of relate to what you put out, I think they find relevance more in people like us than the good old days where only certain celebs who could come out and make a point of view. Look at the new poster boys, especially the last 10, 15 years. They've all been people like us who've kind of built stories for India. And more so, even when it comes to everything which looks authentic, everything which is first-hand used. And that is where the role of what most influencers or the larger content creator comes in. Now, any category which has an intersection of high involvement, needs trust, wants to sell more at scale, I think you have a great living models which are about how the content creators have been able to build it. But while you do that, you should remind yourself, trust can't be rented. You still have to be very, very cautious about how this is being used and leveraged. And that's for each category and every brand to kind of put that restriction.
No, very interesting. Thanks. So let's spend the next 5-7 minutes talking about trust, but in the context of an emerging field that is retail media network. And given that a bunch of folks on the stage here are from the banking industry, Somesh, if we can start on, when we talk about retail media in the banking industry, how are you planning to leverage anything directly retail media or anything similar? And if you are leveraging, does it help build trust or does it erode trust based on the data that this segment of people, majority of the segment of people on the stage has? Any thoughts on that?
I think irrespective of the industry, again, like I said, how do you want to go and communicate and interact with the consumer is the most important part for me. And if you're able to communicate and interact with the consumer and explain it to them, the benefit that they will get out of it, you definitely get the results which you expect it to be. And we've been experimenting. If I talk about the earlier bit, which is influencer, if I talk about retail media networks, we work with a lot of them, and there will always be a set of things which will work for you. There will always be a set of things that doesn't work for you. So for example, the way we look at influencer, and I am completely a convert when it comes to influencer. I never used to believe into this, and especially being into finance, we always used to be very cautious about whether to go or not, because today an influencer is endorsing your brand and tomorrow you will see them endorsing something else. So I completely agree with Kedar. We need to be very careful and cautious in terms of who do we select and who do we want to associate with. But the fact is, what he said, people are relating to that. People are believing in them. And now how do you combine influencers, use these platforms or the networks which are available, and go out and reach out to more and more consumers? Today I can reach out through performance to people only who are coming and searching on those search platforms. Now the way I am using influencers is we are going micro, we are going to those geographies where I don't get search from, and I am working with influencers and getting to reach out to my consumers and then getting high intent leads, and then converting those leads. And for me, influencer is a sales channel. There is a ROI attached to it. Every money that you spend, you need to go and generate revenue out of it. So these are the kind of models, these are the kind of things that you need to look at. Depending on the brand, depending on the objective of the campaign, you then decide which platform you work with or which retail network do you work with. That's what I mean.
Thanks. Neet, you've done a lot of work on the retail media network. So in your world or in your case, how have you developed on retail media to kind of develop trust from a consumer perspective?
Yeah. So on retail media networks, we've realized that it is about finding the user when he's in the right mood, when he's in an intent to listen to a messaging which is as boring as ये mutual funds ले लो, right? We tried different platforms like say, e-com platforms, Uber, Olas and Swiggies and all of that. Then you realize that, okay, that is not the platform where the user is looking for a messaging like that. But we've experimented with apps, banking apps, right, who allow advertising to their own database. And because the intent there is finance, he's coming there, to deal with money, the messaging acceptance is much more. The conversions also, we've tried some bit of it. And we've seen that, yes, those things work. So it is very important to catch your user in the right intent. And retail media networks of different types help you do that.
Sure. And Ajay, in this, you are talking about retail media. Is that even a thing in the real estate world, in the current digital evolution? And if it is, how are you leveraging it?
So I think going back to what Punit is saying, I think we are trying to take a unit of one consumer that you're going to talk to, right? You're talking to that one consumer and trying to have a certain conversation depending upon the state of mind that person is in, right? Now, counter to what we've been kind of taught, that you just need to, if you are visible, you can sell, etc. kind of stuff. I think the flip of it is the consumers are, the laundry list of problems that consumers have on their head is a very large one, right? When the consumers are in the frame of mind, then they will see you rather than the other way around, right? It's not jo dikhega wo bikega. I think when the consumer is in the market, I think then they are in the space to see you. Now, once you translate that one-on-one conversation and then scale it up, I think it's a far easier story to think through, right? It's not too complicated. Retail, just because we've digitized, right? When we were kids, right? It's been there for eons. Visibility, trying to sell at the retail medium has been there. We've just translated that onto digital. Suddenly just because we've given it a name, we believe, yeah, we've invented something new. That's not true, right? It's always been the case. The shopkeeper always, whether it was on a grocery store, always had visibility, always had packed stuff to be shown to you. So those principles haven't gone away, right? We're possibly overcomplicate just because we have new tools. Suddenly we are talking about these shiny toys. It's not, right? It's the basic principles remain the same. You're trying to get into a conversation with somebody who you believe has a need and is interested in that. So what conversation you have with the person, at what stage do you have, what is the right tone, tenor to have that conversation, medium to have that conversation. That's all the simple story is.
True. So talking about consumers and discovering consumers, I think let's pivot to the area of technology and how we have discovered consumers over the last, say 10 years or so. We started, and I'm using technology as in search. So we started as search playing a pivotal role in discovering consumers, which was then taken over by the Googles and Amazons of the world as we went into commerce. And then that was diluted by quick commerce of sorts. But it is again coming back a full circle with AI-led search. Do you have any thoughts on how AI-led search is helping discover consumers? Is that something that any of you are thinking in your plans?
So I think I don't ask my team the question, are you on page 1? I think the question that we ask now is, are you part of the answer? And that really defines the way consumers have shifted in the way they kind of go and buy. They are no more browsing. They are seeking answers. And in that answer, if you get featured, then you're part of the search. So geo and the way you would get featured there is very, very different than the way we've all played the last 5 years, 10 years game of being top in the search. Good, bad, I don't know, but does it reset the industry? Definitely does. Does it allow for more players to come in, new players to come in and kind of help brands? Definitely yes. Is it a good way to kind of leapfrog? Certainly, especially if you're not a market leader and if you've not invested heavily in the content, now is a chance to kind of leapfrog, leverage AI in a big way and build your own tables, build your own answers. So the big shift is definitely there, that consumers are no more browsing. They are looking for answers. And in those answers, if you are able to, have a great story in which it gets featured, more often than not, it's seen as more organic. So I think that's definitely a thing to watch out and build on.
Somesh, you talked about discovering consumers. Yeah.
Yeah, so I completely agree that, and I said as well, the consumers also have different ways of searching things now. I mean, when I was buying a car, probably in early days, I would just speak with one or two people who understand car better, and then I go to a couple of dealers and decide which car I want to buy. Today, I first go to a search engine and search about it. Then probably I'll go and read reviews, and that's where the influencers come in. Then I also go to the dealers and I speak with them. Then I go to the brands probably, or go to one of these car providers who are available and read reviews so that I get that. And then lastly, I probably now will also go to one of the LLMs and ask them that out of these, which one is the better, right? And then that LLM will give me an answer, and then probably I'll decide what I need to do. Same happens with any category that you talk about. You want to buy a geyser, you want to buy anything that you talk about, largely our behaviors have been like that. So my view is you'll have to be on all the platforms. You need to understand how do you cater to which platform. It is not or. You cannot ignore a search engine because you are now on LLMs. You cannot ignore an influencer probably because there are people who relate to that influencer are believing. If just an influencer is saying this brand I use and this is good and I relate to that influencer, probably I'll also go and use that brand. So this is how it is, and you need to be available all across is one point that I feel. The other thing is influencers, consumers more and more are looking for solutions than just giving me a product. I need solutions which suit my needs. So just to give you an example, we are one of the only insurance companies who've come up with an ecosystem which is called Here, where we do anything but insurance. So you can come there and check challans, you can come there and check BMI, you can come on that platform and probably check where can you take your pet for grooming, and you can come on that platform and check if your email ID has been compromised. Now, it has nothing to do with insurance, right? But we've done this so that people come, we gain their mind share, we interact with them. Otherwise, insurance was one product that I used to buy once and then I used to remember only either at the time of claim or at the time of renewal. Now, if I am part of mindshare, I am interacting and engaging with this customer on a regular basis. Tomorrow, when there is a need of insurance, probably he will think about me. Now, that's what consumers are looking for. I need a solution. I need something more than what the product that you're giving me. Give me something as a value add along with the product that you're giving. And that is what you need to understand as marketer and work towards it. Lastly, I think you cannot ignore the AI shift as well. Just to put some numbers and perspective to it, I get in the last 4 months, the number of leads that I am getting from these LLM models is 3x of what I used to get. And the conversion rate is almost 3.5x of what I get on any other search platforms. Now, while the volumes are less, but this will over a period of time grow. More and more people will go to these LLM models, and you'll have to be ready that how do you kind of feature on those LLM models as well. So you'll have to crack it and you'll have to figure out what you need to do. So AI is real. All of these consumer changing behavior is real, and you need to adapt as marketer is what my point is.
Now, context and reasoning is definitely helping LLMs get more leads and helping in conversion as well. Hemant, in this context, AI search, is that something that is influencing how you are looking at things? What are some of the unique assets that you may have that is influencing this change from where you stand?
Yeah, so I'll talk about 2-3 things over here. Where do we really use AI? So we have seen the shift to voice. So today, if you use Truecaller as an app, you have an AI assistant now. That was not existent earlier, right? Somebody who can take the call on your behalf and answer back. Secondly is that yes, we use AI tools on our advertising solutions. We have Truecaller Advantage, which is just that optimization solution, right? There is an input which gets optimized much faster than anything else. But I think more than that is our stronger focus on the entire thought process of trust. Because see, when I break down artificial intelligence, what goes on in consumers' mind is that, hey, there is a lot of data which is being processed now, much faster now. I don't have control over it. And I think that becomes a huge key point, because that's where AI really takes shape, that how is it affecting my consumer at any point in time? What are they thinking about it? So now it has to be permission based, and more so, very, very strong focus on that, that your purpose of, like in our case, we say that we will provide safe and efficient communications to all our consumers. Can I take your data and really spam you back? No, I can't. It's easy money, lazy way of doing it, but sticking to the purpose becomes really important, and that's why probably all the brands also find a safe space over here. I heard some beautiful words, and I think it keeps coming up, whether it was yesterday, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow. While as human beings, we will always look at the fastest way to convenience, and that's why technology will keep on evolving. On the other side, authenticity is really important, and we need to really break that down. What makes it authentic? And that's really, really important, and I think that's where the buck stops with all of us. AI is just not a tool. AI is reshaping the society in a much larger way. There is fear, there is hope, there are aspirations, there are ambitions. All of it sitting down on one single thing. Can I trust this? And that's about it, I guess, to a larger extent.
Well said. Just from, in the interest of time, what we can do is, just for our audience, we've talked about how the shift is happening. We talked about social. We talked about some of the newer hybrid models that could potentially evolve. We talked about technology, specifically AI search. If there is one thing that, and it is changing so rapidly, I mean, every 2-3 years something is changing. I mean, at least in the last 5 or 6 years, there have been so many shifts. So I know we are at our 10th anniversary. Over the next 10 years, if there is one thing that we should look out for, 10 years is a long horizon, but even anything that we should look for, if there is one thing that each of you can comment on how this specific industry will change, what would that be? Ajay?
When things are changing too quickly, what do you ground yourself to? You ground yourself to stuff that is not changing, right? Foundations, right? So the one thing within our business which has not changed and will not change is the human search we were talking about, which is the first search engine and continues to be the first search engine. You'll type on the mobile later. I think first you occupy some real estate in somebody's head, right? So I think that principle you will hold true, and you focused on that very basic stuff that you are trying to get the consumer. Consumer is trying to get slightly ahead in their life, solve a problem. I think being useful, doing interventions so that with all the available tools, it could be AI today, tomorrow it could be, I think, greater versions of that entire thing. The piece is you are on a quest to solve somebody's problem. If you are being able to be useful, I think that's a really, rather than doing intervention, that's a fairly simple and easy formula. Yeah.
Sure. Manish?
I think future is quite uncertain, so I won't comment on how it will happen, but I'll just say that the human spirit, which is the resilience that it can figure out solution for anything. No one had thought with COVID kind of situation how business will run, but it ran, right? We figured out work from home, Zoom meetings, and God knows what all, right? So I'm sure whatever the uncertainties throws at us, we'll figure out a solution.
Sure. Somesh, you want to just add to this about?
So if I understood right, you're saying what will not change or what will change?
What can we
expect after 10 years? I think AI is for real, and we've seen things changing whether we accept it or not. Some of the industries might not want to accept it right now, but each and every place there will be an intervention of AI, and you need to now start living with it or accepting it and say, how can I enhance my consumer experience? How can I enhance my product delivery? How can I enhance my service experience, in our case, claim experience, with the use of AI? And we've been doing it since last 7-8 years. Today, if you want to inspect your car, earlier there was a surveyor who was going. Today I can do it in couple of seconds by just reviewing the images, and that also an AI engine model is sitting and reviewing it. So it is for real. If I'll not do it, somebody else will do it and they'll move ahead. So in my view, in the next 8-10 years, you will see absolutely different way of delivering the experience to the consumers, and you'll have to be a part of it.
Punit?
For us in financial services, I think it is building trust, right? And building trust in the era of AI becomes all the more important, because you cannot make out what is real, what is AI. Right? I think that is going to play a major role over the next few years in financial services.
Thanks. Kedar?
So I think agentic commerce,
Interesting.
I believe, I don't know about 10 years, but for the next 4-5 years for sure. And with agentic commerce, the behavior shift from browsing and searching and doing it all by yourself to delegating it to agents, which of course come with a huge amount of trust and ability to kind of know that whatever information is being shared is being used in the right way. So that's the shift from browsing to really delegating. And in that world lies the change for us, for content, for media, everything, because you then have to think about how your content and how your media is influencing the algorithms as much as they influence the human beings. That's exactly what happened to search. And we all kind of, tried gaming the algorithms in some way 4-5 years into the system. So I think agentic commerce is where I'll put my bets on.
Interesting. Hemant?
I know time's up, so I'm going to make it very short and quick. First, 1 year is operational foresight, 2 years is strategic, 10 years you have hit the philosophical chord now. So I'm just going to go that way. So 10 years down the line, what I do see happening is this panel is being conducted and attended by some super intelligent beings. We are probably outside partying somewhere, and we are completely okay with that. And that is the change. That is the handover, where human beings are following something far more, this is very creative, I'm not saying that, far more creative than daily lives. And that is the enablement that we give of coexisting with AI.
No, good. I don't want to build on that hangover. I think it's good food for thought for everyone, and it's been an interesting discussion of what the current is and what the future could be. So thank you everyone for a very good discussion. Thanks.